And I'm your friendly host, Debbie Levitt from Delta CX. And today I am joined by the always friendly Ira Wolfe from Success Performance Solutions. And today we're going to talk about the Four Horsemen of Bad UX, also the Four Horsemen of Bad CX, and what they are, how you can use that model at your workplace, and what are the antidotes to them. Now, while I get all of the live chat rooms set up so that we can take your live questions and comments, I'm going to let Ira introduce himself.
Hey, thanks, Debbie. Good to see you again, and always fun to talk to you, especially about the Four Horsemen. You've turned me, as I shared, you turned me into this animal on user experience. It's made my life more complicated because now I find every little area. But it's been fun. So I can't wait till we dive in and talk about the Four Horsemen. But I've got a company, Success Performance Solutions. You can see the logo in the background. I've had it around for about 25 years. This is my 25th year. Never thought it would enter into HR consulting, but that's the space, that's the industry that I'm in. Primarily, we provide pre-employment and leadership hiring solutions, testing solutions to companies. But a few years ago, quite a few companies said, we'd love to test more people, but we can't find them. And I've always been interested in workforce trends and technology and how to use things better. So kind of moved to helping companies create a better recruitment process, which will lead into where the Four Horsemen fits perfectly. And I've been certainly using that quite often. But wrote a book 2 years ago, Recruiting in the Age of Googlization. Half of the book is about the future of work and the future world and how fast things are changing. The last part is, okay, here's how we have to recruit and acquire talent and manage people during that period of time. And it's actually February 4th. The second edition is coming out. So we've got 6 new chapters be released. Anybody wants a free copy, you can actually just go to join.googlizationnation.com. It's join.googlizationnation.com. And the first 1,000 people who sign up will get a free copy. So
very generous.
So that's where we are. That's what I'm doing.
Excellent. And also, my famous Delta CX book, Ira is interviewed in it. So you can also catch some of his thoughts in there. For those interested in the book, just hit deltacx.com. There's links to buy it on Amazon. So I'm going to flip to my typical conference slide of the Four Horsemen. So let me just share my screen for a moment. And just a reminder to everybody watching live that we are live. We are delayed by 30 to 60 seconds, but we are happy to take your questions. I'm keeping an eye on them in the chat room. So those of you on LinkedIn and YouTube, please ask questions as we go. So this is my model. I did register it as a trademark, and it's the Four Horsemen of Bad UX, or of course now the Four Horsemen of Bad CX. And they are frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. And when I teach this model, I find it's great for people who work in CX and UX. It gives us a really concise way to explain to everybody we're working with, whether or not they're savvy about UX, about things that our customers experience, whoever those customers or users are, whether they're internal workers at our company or people external who buy from us or partners, could be anybody. But we know that when our customers and users feel frustration, confusion, disappointment, and or distraction, we've created a bad user experience, a bad customer experience. And it reminds us this is something we need to fix. This is something we should not be releasing in this state because we're just going to have to fix it later. We should be more proactive and predictive and see the Four Horsemen coming and vanquish them early. So again, frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. Special thanks to my friend Elias Langner for having drawn and painted this. I did pay him, but I still thank him for it because it's a beautiful piece of art and very clever. So again, as we go, if anyone has questions about the Four Horsemen model, but again, those of you who work in CX and UX who are listening, you've seen this before. You're working with customers, you're interviewing them, you're observing them, you're testing with them, and you see people, you see the frustration on their faces, you hear the confusion in their voices, you see them get lost on pages and not sure what to do next. This is when the Four Horsemen have arrived. And you'll see Ira use a lot on his LinkedIn and in his world FCDD, which which are the letters of each of the horsemen: frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. Now, this video is marked as not safe for children, so I am going to say a swear word. But I jokingly say, in a not safe for work way, so take me off your speakers at work, that if you want to remember frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction, just remember FCDD. And if you say FCDD out loud, it could sound a bit like fuck. And if you do not fix the four horsemen arriving in your interface or customer experience, you might be fucked, and you're going to need to do something about that. So I'm going to take these guys off my screen, and I'm going to switch it back to Ira for a moment and say, Ira, we know you don't totally work in the UX and CX world, but you're really involved a lot in the hiring process, the candidate experience, the employee experience. Where do you see the four horsemen showing up a lot in your neck of the woods? Ira appears to be frozen.
All right. Okay. And you were frozen. So
I was frozen. Okay. I was accusing you of being frozen. Did you get the whole question?
I did get the question.
Okay, go for it.
And I said that basically, how does FCDD work in HR and or in my world? And I asked you how long we have.
Yes, up to well, according to you, according to you, we have just under 40 minutes because you have a hard appointment. Right. So go.
Yeah. So one is it gave a great context. This absolutely resonates. And again, you and I met 2 years ago, 3 years ago, somewhere around there. And I think you first introduced it to me, and I was like, yeah, that's good. And I sort of got it. And then all of a sudden, like one day I got this aha moment and it clicked. And I started to use that, similar to, I used your slide and talk about it. And it resonates because there's a story behind it all. So we were talking, this has nothing to do with HR, but well, it does to some degree. So just an example. Last night went up, one of my clients contacted me. They wanted to have another assessment sent out. It was a unique assessment, and I wanted to have a copy sent to me. And it's a very, very easy process. You just go in, click on it, put an email in. I did that, and the email comes back is, oh, this email's already been used in the system. So that was the first frustration. And it's not a big deal. So I go into my second system. I've got Google Apps, and I know how to set up an alias. So I go in, and it's normally, again, a 60-second process to go and create an alias. And I go in to create that, and 2 hours later, it's not working. And I followed the same routine, the same process. And again, frustration. Of course, there's there's a lot of distractions in there, but and then ultimately it's a disappointment. So sure, those are things that carry over. So think about that when candidates apply to jobs. The first thing is and this could be a number of the horsemen. It could be frustration, it could be disappointment, it could be confusion. I hear that Debbie, is hiring for a job. Delta CX is hiring for a worker. I go up, I search them, I find their site. It looks like a beautiful site. I go, hey, I'm interested in looking. I wonder what jobs are there. Can't find it. I look for careers. I look for job search. I go to the search button. I look for it. Can't find how to apply, what it's like to work for the company. How do I get the jobs? So I don't.
And in our defense, we do have no job section on the website right now. So you think you're telling like an allegory, but it is absolutely true.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to point that out.
It's okay.
And if you went to my site, we don't do that either. So we're not looking. But if you are looking for people, if that is one of your challenges, and that is why people come to me, because they cannot find enough people. Or they find people and they're leaving, and hey, we posted an ad and we're not getting qualified people. Well, the reality is there may be really qualified people that are interested in applying for your job, but they come to your website. People have become much more selective because of low unemployment. Most people that have a job They already have a job. They just don't like the job that they want or that they have, and they're looking for a better opportunity. So they're going to be a little bit more selective. They're not going to spend hours trying to figure out how to find where your job posting is and what the application is. So the very first, frustration, confusing, and disappointment might be interested in working for you, have no idea how to find out where your jobs are listed. And it happens so often because there's like the career button. I mean, these are just examples that I found. The career button or the employment button. There is no navigation button at the top of the screen. It might be buried under About Us. It might be buried under Contact Us, and maybe Resources.
Right.
And you have to scroll down. You have to figure out where it is. Most often, it's not included anywhere at the top navigation button, the top menu, but it's buried in the footer, which most people don't go and explore your footer. I don't care what what you say. It's some like icon. It's some link on the bottom. And so those are all easy ways. There's easy ways to improve it and go about there. But that's, I think that's, that probably encompasses, 3 out of 4. We can get into distractions as we go down the road here a little bit.
Yeah, and just to jump in, we are live. We've got 10 people watching on LinkedIn and 1 or 2 in YouTube. If you guys have any questions or thoughts on the Four Horsemen, and especially how you have experienced them in products or services that you've experienced or that you might be building at your job, feel free to
or in the hiring process.
Yeah,
or in the hiring process. I know a lot of people are you're looking for jobs, you're looking for employment. If you have freelancers out there, you're trying to get in contact with people to be able to get a gig. And what are your frustrations there? Because that just carries over.
I've got a great one. I was someone announced an open job a couple of weeks ago on LinkedIn, and I thought, well, that sounds pretty good. I'll take a look at it. And when I got there, the jobs page was blank. It just had like the headline and then the footer, and there were no jobs. And I went back to them on LinkedIn. I said, I'm sorry, it looked like there aren't any open jobs on your page. And their response was, well, I see them. And I was like, well, hooray for you. Nobody likes it works for me. That should be like the 5th horseman. Well, it works for me. You're the idiot. And what ended up happening was I had declined cookies from the site because I don't know who these people are. I don't know what information they're collecting or how they're using it. So I declined the cookies. And it turned out if you declined cookies, you couldn't see the jobs.
Perfect.
And my thought was, and I don't want to work there. And so and you and I've talked about that. How many candidates, people, it's hard to track who came to your site and left and why. We don't have a lot of business intelligence on why someone left. And sometimes we make up stories about it. Oh, she didn't think she was qualified for the job, so she didn't apply. Anyone can make up a story, but in reality, I didn't apply for the job because I didn't want to give you a cookie, and then the job didn't even show up on my screen. So that's like, to me, it's like the Four Horsemen and a giant middle finger. So it's really important for people in HR to do this. And when companies are building their websites, they've just got to do more testing of their own websites. They've got to test them with cookies off, with browser ad blockers on. This is the new reality. People are blocking stuff. And so people have to eat their own dog food and test this stuff out. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the Four Horsemen before we take a look at our antidotes to the Four Horsemen?
Right. So, obviously we can talk about these all day long, and then we're looking to what the cure is or the antidote. So, but one of the things that you shared is we gave the example in the front of not being able to find how to apply for a job. But as you said, is even having you couldn't view the jobs because of that. I recall, and it's actually probably 2 years ago, February. I was in New York. I was in a meeting, and we were talking about technology and how it was affecting and my role. There was people talking about robotics and AI and blockchain, and my role was how talent acquisition, how human resources was going to change in the future. And during the session, I went on as an example, and I pulled up their site, and I found fairly easy where their career site was, and I went there, and I could not pull up their jobs because in order to view their jobs, and their complaint was,
let me guess, you had to create an account.
We had to create an account. I had to create an account to view the jobs. And so, there's obviously people that this is a pretty well-known company, and it's a global company, and they would want to work there. So maybe maybe that's frustrating, but it wouldn't stop anybody from getting there. But that was just the beginning. And so, again, it's, if you're having a sale, if you're promoting a product, if you want traffic, if you want people to come into your store, you don't have a membership. You don't have somebody out in the street collecting tons of information.
Right.
And,
You're
then we can go
totally right.
down.
I
Yeah.
always say to people, would you say this if people walked into your store? So I used to do this with like marketing people where they would say, we want more pop-ups and we want more ads. And, I've done a lot of retail and e-commerce work in my career, and we want more pop-ups, we want more ads. And I said, now imagine you're the store and someone walks into the store, and instead of saying, hi, can I help you? Or what do you need? You say, do you want jeans? They're over there. Do you want socks? Do you want, we don't do that. We don't throw all these distractions at people when they come to our real store. Why do we do these things on websites? So you're echoing my points without even knowing my points.
Yeah. Well, and I've learned from you, so I follow your lead.
I
very,
learned from
very
you,
often.
Dad, as
And,
the old
and
American
the-
commercial says.
Yeah, we want, and people have heard me. Anybody who's followed me, or you can go up and just Google my name, and you're going to find job applications, and that is probably the biggest frustration. They're too long. One is for basics. Is most of them you can't complete on a mobile phone,
Right.
because half the companies are still using homegrown web forms, Gravity forms, or Woofu forms, or whatever. They're using homegrown forms. The rule of thumb is beyond 20 fields, there's a 365% drop off rate. Because
how do you get more than 100%?
Yeah, I don't know if you ever get 100%, because, well, again, I guess if you have a mobile ready application, and my rule of thumb is mobile ready, number one. It's got to be optimized and responsive. So the basic technology stuff. But start out with just 4 or 5 questions. What are the 4 or 5 questions? Am I qualified? Do you live in the U.S.? Do you have reliable transportation? Do you have a 4-year degree? Do you have 5 years experience? Whatever it is, and hopefully those are actually accurate.
Your deal breakers. Deal breakers.
Right.
Like, you know what? If this person doesn't have these 3 things, we don't even want them. What I call the gate. The gate doesn't open for you. Right.
So ask those 5 questions, and then get people engaged, get their response, go through that. So at that point, would you get 100% of people who start the application? Because if they don't start, you have 0. You have 0 chance. If somebody doesn't apply, start the application, you have 0% chance of getting an application. I mean, it's simple math.
Right.
So part of the process is, how do you improve that? Is, a lot of companies don't even know. They don't even track how many people look at the application, how many people land on the application page, how many people start it, how many people complete it. So we're going to talk about metrics and prediction and things, but that's part of that solution. But once you reach 20 fields, there's a 365% drop off. Once you reach 45 fields, it's enormous. Now, here's the kicker. The average online application has 67 fields to fill out. And again,
Why?
And so even if there's 67 fields, you can say, well, okay, it's a technical position, whatever. Whatever argument you're going to throw at us about why you need 67 fields is one thing, but then most of those are not mobile optimized. They're very difficult to fill out. It takes too long. So again, there's, we talk about maybe the only horseman that doesn't involve is distraction, but all the other 3 are running rapid, through the fields.
So true. And so I want to start moving towards some of the solutions that you and I have been brainstorming together for what can be done with these, especially in the HR and hiring and candidate space. And just to remind everybody who's live with us, if anybody has any questions or comments, just leave them in the LinkedIn window and I will see them. So just post them if you've got any questions or comments. But we came up with a list of 4 antidotes to the Four Horsemen, and let's see if I got these right. I think we ended up with proactive, predictive, pragmatic, and problem solving. Was that where we ended up?
We were struggling with the problem solving. How do we make that one word? Is it problem solving? Is it problem
problems solving?
Problems. So, but it's the 4 Ps.
Again, okay, the 4 Ps will kill the 4 Horsemen. So let's start with proactive. I talk a lot in all the talks that I give and in my book about being proactive to better understand our users and mitigate business risk. How would you suggest to people in the HR and candidate and employee space to be more proactive about these crappy experiences?
One's really easy solution. Apply for a job on your own site.
Eat your
Uh,
own dog food.
right? And again, it's you can say, well, we applied. I'm sitting at my desk. I got two 27-inch monitor, actually, well, 32 and a 27-inch monitor. I got huge monitors here. I got a gaming computer. Not that I game, but I wanted it for the horsepower. I can check things on here, and it works marvelous. However, my applicant or the applicant that might be applying for my client's job might be in rural Iowa. They're on a mobile phone. They have one bar on their phone. How does it work? Now, you don't have to travel all the way to rural Iowa to do this, or where you live. You're pretty remote in Italy.
I just got LTE where I am. I was on 2G. Now
yes.
I'm on LTE. Check me out, people.
Yes. So we hear about, hey, we look at the T-Mobile maps and the AT&T maps and the Verizon maps. It's like, there's only a couple small sections in the country that aren't on 4G or now moving to 5G. And you go, bull.
Right.
You can sometimes be in a building and be on the other side and or in somebody's house and not be able to use that. So you have to take it to the lowest common denominator. Now, you're not going to be able to do that perfectly. There's going to be people that just have technology issues, but just as simple as pulling out your phone, borrowing somebody else's. If you have, we were talking about before, I have iPhones, you have iPhones, but check it.
I'm Android.
What's it look like on an Android, on a Google? What's it looks like on a Samsung? What's it look like on a Windows platform? Now there are, and I'm trying to remember. One of them's called Responsinator, and you may have some suggestions. It's like, how do we know this? You can go to a program. It's actually free. Go to Responsinator, put your website in there, and it displays it across all the different devices, or a lot of different devices. I'm sure it's not all the devices, and you get to see what your web page looks like, what your application looks like, whatever it is. Just an easy way, but I would, more than just visually looking at it, I would try to apply. Look at the steps.
And really quickly, I just want to sneak in and just say some people in the LinkedIn chat are saying they don't think comments are working. LinkedIn was frozen for me before, guys. Just refresh the page. But I do see comments coming from Luis. So if anybody wants to leave a comment or a question, they are working. I do see them. Just try refreshing the page. Sorry to interrupt you, Ira.
No. And I'm doing a lot of live streams, as you know, and LinkedIn's pretty funky with some of the user experience.
Who let the interns build this? Yeah. So yeah, and I agree with you. And I usually tell people the example that I use is, look, I know you imagine everyone's sitting at a desk at a great computer with a great connection, but try filling out your job form from your cell phone while on a city bus across town. There are so many people who take public transportation to commute. The bus might be the only break they get in the day when they're not being scrutinized at work or dealing with their kids or spouse or parents at home. Try filling out your job application on your phone from the bus as it goes across town and see how that goes.
Yeah, well, it's not even a bus. I mean, hopefully you're not doing this while you're driving to work or on a freeway or a train.
No, not in your own car. Make sure someone else is driving.
But people, but you look at the population that companies are seeking, and a lot of them are young. A lot of them maybe in their 30s and 40s. They got young families. They're at their doctor office with their kids. They're sitting and waiting, and that's where they're doing it. They're at a soccer game, at a concert, at a baseball game. With their kids, they're watching it, and they're all on their phone. Everybody's on their phone. Everybody's doing it. Some of them may be looking for a job because it's the only free time that they have to be able to do that. You need to, as you said, eat your own dog food. Try it, and and again, some people try it for one job, but they have different applications. But I still see PDFs that you have to download. I don't know what you do with that on a mobile phone. or a mobile device.
Or how about
now,
upload your resume in PDF format, and you're on an iPhone, and you're like, I don't keep my resume on my iPhone. What am I supposed to do now?
Right. So there's so many things. I mean, there's so many parts to that that seem easy. And again, you need to track it. It may not be a problem. I love you did a presentation the other day about prioritizing. You had your calculator, your online, and being able to say
the decision matrix, the
matrix,
Delta CX
right.
decision matrix.
Yeah. So you have that, and somebody says, well, we don't have a problem, and it may be legit. We've gone up and we've looked and we've tracked this, and we found that 92% of everybody who comes up to our site and uploads the resume, who's on the site uploads their resume. Okay, not a big deal, not a high priority. Just keep track of it. It may get worse down, in the future. So there's certain things that you need to prioritize. Certainly if you're asking line workers, hourly workers to upload resumes as a PDF, that's probably going to be a problem. If you're talking about professionals, engineers, executives, salespeople, maybe they can do that, but certainly not at the again, depends on the type of position that you're looking for. Did you freeze up, Debbie? I think you're froze, Debbie. So I'll keep frozen. Talking. Yeah, you are frozen. So there you are. Now you're moving again.
I'm moving again. Thank you.
You're back.
Sorry.
So, yes. So I was just leading in to say, well, I'll keep talking.
It was beautiful. No, I was going to, and you're welcome to fill the time. You and I are great at that. I was going to say, I also think part of proactivity in vanquishing the Four Horsemen would be just keeping better tabs on ours and keeping better tabs on some of the real activity on our website to know where people are bouncing or where they're abandoning, and to not make judgments about, well, they're all idiots, or, well, they decided they don't qualify those behaviors, and to use those opportunities for whatever your metrics say, use the opportunities that the metrics give you to spin up research, to learn more. Do not make guesses and assumptions about what's going on.
So there's two parts of two great insights that you gave there. One is you need to have metrics. You need to track this, and the number one metric I say is if you're not happy, which is most reasons that people contact me, if you're not happy or satisfied with the quality of candidates. Now they may get a lot of candidates, but they're not interested in the quality, which means they may be turning away the people who have choices and options because they're not going to put up with all the Four Horsemen. Is if you're not getting enough people, then find out, is it that I don't have reach? That was my acronym, REACH. One is you have to reach the people. They have to know you have a job. If you're not getting applications, people say, well, nobody's interested in applying. Well, they might be, you just don't know it. So if they're on your page, there's an interest. If they came and looked at your website and looked at the job listing, there's got to be at least some interest, some intrigue, some reason that they did that. People just don't sit around and go, hey, I have 15 minutes to spare. I think I'm going to look at, all these job listings. People have better things to do. They can watch cats on YouTube. Sorry.
It's okay.
Still on.
You're a busy man.
Yeah. So that's part of that. So be able, make sure that you, track that. What's the tracking? How many, and as I said this before, how many people land on your page, how many people were interested, how many people click on the apply button, how many people start the application, and that's different. They can click to apply and then not apply. How many people start it? When did they finish? If you really want to go down the road, where did they drop off? Did they
How long did it take them? If they did finish,
at which point?
That was 20 minutes?
Is there any consistency there? So one is starting to, and some of this is a little bit more complicated to do, and some of it's very, very easy. Sometimes just asking. And a lot of what I'm mentioning is already, like if you're using an ATS, a lot, not all, which surprises me, but a lot of them do track that information. They track how many applications are started, how many are finished. And people don't even know the report's there because they don't even think about asking it. So that's the number one, that's number one, is to become better, to become more proactive, to become more predictive. You need to start identifying some basic stats. And that's where I would start. I mean, before even looking at, is it a problem with the PDF? Is it a problem that they had to register to even look at your job listings? You don't know if that's an issue. I do know where the issue is in most companies. The issue is they have as high as the average is 50% abandonment in the application. 50%. That is across the board, and even companies that have said they've focused on it and worked on it, they're still dealing with that because they're not changing the application. But it's as high as 90%. I have clients that have come on board that were losing 9 out of 10 people in the process. Now, not all 9 out of 10 were highly desirable, but again, in today's market, nobody's going to put up with your crap. And if the only people that are putting up with basically a crappy experience are people who are desperate, that's not necessarily the place to be. The other part of that is, I know there's 2 other parts to it. The other part of that is that 90, we went back before about being mobile ready. 96%, and I think this is a North US statistic, but it may be worldwide. According to the Pew Research, 96% of all adults under 30 years old have only have a mobile device.
Right.
Okay, so and that may be a tablet, maybe an iPhone, maybe or an iPad, or Samsung tablet. But whatever it is that's all they have. So they're all on wireless bandwidth, which is varied, and it all has to be mobile responsive. But 92% of everyone under 49 years old has a mobile device. And again, there's things we can keep going down the line. And then 3 out of 4 people don't start their search on a job board. They start their search in Google. And it may be looking for careers. Again, I'll pull you up. I know you're not looking for anybody, but if it's Delta CX, hey, I'm looking for a job at Delta CX. That's what they type in, but they don't go to Indeed or ZipRecruiter to do that. They're starting it on Google because Google owns 92% of the market, when you include YouTube. So there's all these reasons that people may not be coming to you, and it could be as simple as I can't view your job listing and I can't apply on my mobile phone. I am not going to find a library to do this.
Library? What's that?
Gonna do it, right? And which leads to my final comment on that is you mentioned a couple things that kind of inferred this. I still have clients that say, if a candidate's not willing to take 15 minutes or 30 minutes to fill this out, we don't want them.
Right.
And my answer is, how's that working for you?
Right. It's not a game of chicken.
Well, and it's true. I mean, at some point, if somebody's not willing to fill out a longer application and you've done all these other steps, you've done the screening, you had some type of engagement, you may even talk to them, and they're not willing to go to that extra step. It's like, hey, I got 20 years experience and I deserve to have this interview. Then that could be a problem. But so often is the case is you need to, sort of get out of that. If they're not willing to spend a half hour doing this, because you're just not going to get the candidates. And it looks like Debbie.
And it sounds elitist.
Yeah. Well, it is.
Yeah, doubt. I'm sorry. It's elitist. It's like, well, if you can't make time for me, well, you must not be very serious about. Make sure we cover the other antidotes before you go in 10 minutes. We had predictive, which we've talked a little bit about, and how we can be using metrics. And I also tell people, remember to hire great, qualified, talented UX and CX practitioners who can also be proactively and predictively researching this stuff, looking into it, and helping you with it. Because for the most part, the HR department doesn't want to feel like website designers or have to figure out what's going right or wrong with this. So it's a great opportunity for them to partner with people who
And she froze up again, but it's a great way to kind of part. You coming back to us, Debbie? Yep. So for those who are listening, basically what we're talking about is what my role is, or what I'm trying to do is, again, because I do not propose that I'm UX or CX, or that I know enough to be dangerous. Yeah, you back, Debbie? Okay, so one of my challenges, what I'm trying to do is increase the
having a bad Wi-Fi day.
Yeah. So what I was saying is I'm trying to keep up the increase the awareness. The first thing is to be aware of what some of the challenges are. To be aware that there is a thing called UX and CX, and it doesn't have to be complicated. And what I like is the Four Horsemen, the FCDD, basically took down a kind of a technical, pretty sophisticated art and science of what you do, and took it down to a level that people can understand. Rather than saying you don't have to understand UX and CX, and or which is customer experience or candidate experience as I use it. What you need to understand is, here's the things that get in the way, and it's frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. So those are the four areas. What are the things that you do on a daily basis that create that you're causing the Four Horsemen to sort of ride, and trample the experience. We also live, in the background of this isn't just, I'm talking about HR, but we're living in a consumer-centric world. For anyone who, Macy's just announced a whole bunch of closures. I know you used to do some work for Macy's, and they should have listened to, I guess, some of the things that you were trying to do there.
Not going there.
But all of it, every single day there's new closures. And again, why some of these companies are iconic. They were in a resale space long before Walmart and Amazon. Why aren't they there? They owned the market. And right. And we're experiencing the same thing, as we never had any problem getting people before. Therefore, it must be people have a lousy attitude. And I go, no.
Oh, let me guess. It's the millennials.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the millennials.
The millennials ruined jobs.
Yeah, the millennials who are now 40 years old and go, oh, I'm a millennial and I'm bashing myself. No, I don't mean, I'm not 40 years old. I think I am. My mind thinks I am. My body says otherwise.
Okay. And again, I know you've got to go in 10-ish minutes. Our last one was problem solving. And of course, for in my world, I would say that goes back to all of the UX and CX people who can join hands with the HR teams and the IT teams and all these people and say, hey, there are problems here. We've got to be researching them and learning more about them, and then we've got to be able to solve them. Very often, I think, but you'll correct me, I think that's going to have to do with which HR systems we even check into or buy. It's going to depend on how we customize them and set them up. It's going to be based on the ridiculous job forms that we set up for people. I filled out a job form a week or two ago, and it was the dream job form that you and I were talking about. It was like name, email, phone number, upload your resume. Here's a little text box if you want to write us a cover letter. Do you want to give us your LinkedIn URL? Submit.
Right. No, exactly. And so again, here's a couple challenges. A lot of the systems that are out there, and I'm not going to mention the names, but a lot of the systems, as you say, what are the top 5 or top 10 applicant tracking software systems, or HRIS systems that are out there? Most of them were built for another age. They're legacy systems. They were built beginning in the 2000s and over the last decade. We're now in 2020. We're in the third decade of this millennium, but things have changed dramatically. They can slap on a chatbot. They can modify, change the application a little bit. They can change the interface. They can make it look prettier. It can be mobile responsive. They can do all this stuff. But at the core of it, it's still this 100-field application. And right. That's dictated by the company. And because the consumers, the HR was not asking, they go, can you take our application and put it online? Yes. The application that is currently used, that is being put online, was first created in 1950. Now, there were applications before that, but the application model is, I need your first name. That's when people used to knock on your door, stop by, and, hey, I'm looking for a job. And you'd hand them a piece of paper, and they fill it out. And the first thing you ask for is first name, last name, what your address is, city, state, phone number, where you went to high school, what was your principal's name, what was the address of your principal's name,
What's
what was
your
the phone
blood
number,
type?
yeah, what was your GPA, and it went through all these things, and none of that, zero, has anything to do with qualifying you for the job. Zero.
And you know that we've talked before. I hate when they ask me for my full home address. It's like, you don't even know if you want to interview me. What does it matter where I live?
Well, you know, I take it one step further. Is why are you asking? The first thing that somebody asked for is your name. So right away, well, sometimes they get confused. They don't know if Ira is a girl or a female or a male. So I've been, so they don't see who I am. That probably would give it away. But, you know, again, I've even done my middle name, Stephen. So I used to get to avoid the Miss Ira.
Miss Ira.
I've done Ira Stephen, and then it became Miss Ira Stephen. So you're talking about, that's not bad user experience. That's just stupidity. But if you apply as Debbie, the chances are that you're a female. So there's immediate bias entered into it. If my name was Michael, or I use Stephen, whatever it is, depending on our last names, what they are. So if you
read Freakonomics, did you read Freakonomics?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you know, Freakonomics has a whole chapter about how they were able to run studies and send the same resume to a company with a straightforward Anglo-sounding name, and then with a more highly ethnic sounding name, identical resume, and the resume with the ethnic sounding name got thrown in the garbage, and the resume with the Anglo-sounding name, they wanted to interview you. So you're right. There's sometimes immediate bias even from seeing someone's name.
Yeah, so that's not strictly user experience. I mean, it can be very easy to fill out your two fields or one field to fill out your name. But when you think about it, is you hear about our number one initiative is diversity and inclusion. The very first thing you do is ask for their name.
Which gives you clues possibly about gender, ethnicity,
race. I mean, you name it. I mean, so there's so much hypocrisy, so many idiosyncrasies, so many little things. And again, my role, saying this one, I think you froze up before, is what I'm trying to do, as I'm not trying to, no way am I entering the UX. I mean, I'm entering the space, but I'm trying to create awareness of the space. Maybe I'm not entering. I'm just trying to create awareness.
You're a wonderful ally.
Of UX and CX, is to basically say, be aware of all these things. Start thinking about it, because I have yet to find somebody that says, we never thought of how the name biases our whole process. And why is that the first thing you ask for? So the last thing they ask for is, after you go through your education. I mean, this is the order it goes.
Right. What's your gender? Name, are you a protected veteran?
Our biodata. Fortunately, hopefully, they're not asking for social security numbers. I got to get your phone number, your home phone number, your office phone number. Then I find out your education, where you went to high school. Which could be 3 or 4 decades ago. The building's torn down. The principals have died. There's no way to contact them, but you still need that information. And then it goes into your employment. So you fill out 50 fields till you get to employment. And why isn't that the first thing? It could be, are you currently employed? Do you have 5 years experience? Are you in the industry?
The screening questions. The screening questions.
Are you licensed in the state? Or do you have reliable transportation? What's going to knock them out? If they say no to any of those 4 or 5 questions, they're out. We do it all the time. We do it for mortgages. We do it for insurance. I was reading something yesterday. We even do it to apply for, if we want to order something in a restaurant. The first thing they do is like, do you want the, what's the main, what do you want? What are you interested in? And, when it comes to hiring, we need your firstborn and your life history. And if you have your ancestry.com blueprint, send that to us too. So
I filled out one the other day, and it it sucked in my resume, and then of course it made me refill out everything from my resume because somehow it couldn't parse my extremely linear plain Word file. And then all of a sudden it was done, and there wasn't any place for a cover letter or a text box. And I love writing the cover letters. I love saying to a company like, "Hi, I'm Debbie. Here's where I think I'm a great match for you." I don't know how much they read them or not, but I do like to write them. And this didn't even have a space for it. And I have to say, I walked away feeling very insecure. I walked away feeling like, wow, if I'm really just going to be judged by what I was able to paste into this form and not the story I want to tell with a little cover letter or something else. Yeah, they didn't ask me for a link to my portfolio or some of the other things you look for in my industry. And I was like, wow, I'm definitely not going to hear from these people. Like, I could see how my own story came off as non-compelling.
Right. No, absolutely. And well, that's the goal. That's how the systems were designed. The designed were from the employer-centric side. Let's take the resume. How can we screen it down? How can we eliminate the thousands of applications or hundreds of applications that don't fit right away because they don't have the right keywords? And again, in today's market is, down all the way into the high schools. They're teaching people how to write resumes, and the resumes are all geared to be
Scannable.
yeah, well, it's not only scannable, but parsed by that. And there's actually some good parsing software out there. I mean, I posted something a couple of months ago, and a lot of people jumped on, oh, try mine. And there are actually a couple, but there's very few companies that are using it. So basically, the fact is that they go, oh, it's improved. There, I just read about a good parsing technology. Maybe 0.0001% of all the companies that are hiring actually use that particular software. So most of the technology is still based on old keyword. If you put the right keyword in there, you get picked up, and if not, you get rejected, which is a huge complaint by job seekers. And that's why that's another reason people have stopped applying, because it's like, why am I going to why would I bother to fill out this 30-piece application when I didn't even hear for the other 20 companies? And again, some of this has nothing to do with technology. We're talking a lot about what are little things you can do on being, again, when we talk about CX and UX, user experience, candidate experience, reply to people more than, hey, thank you for submitting.
I thank you
How
for
hard is that?
submitting. We can't reply, buddy. So if you don't hear from us, and my thought is, wow, you were able to automate the email that thanked me for applying, but you can't automate an email that says, by the way, we have decided not to interview you. Like,
Well,
the system would know that, but yet you can't even. So ghosting is in style, but it's terrible. I know you've got to run.
Yeah, we can. Well, we always say we can go on forever. I always learn things. Already made a couple notes here of things, and I'll have to listen to what we said, because I'm sure there was a couple additional nuggets in here that we can use.
Always.
So
Always
I guess we
delicious
should
nuggets.
refresh the 4 Ps, right? Which is the
Yes, I
antidote
will
for
go back
the
and repeat them. So again, our four horsemen were frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. A great model for use at your jobs, especially when speaking to non-UX people, trying to tell them about what customers experience and why we don't want them to experience that. For trying to vanquish the four horsemen are proactive, predictive, pragmatic, and solving. And again, this is something that we can do. Probably the HR team should team up with UX and CX, and probably going to need IT in there, and get everybody together and let each of us do what we do best. Anything to add?
And with that, I guarantee you, based on being pragmatic and taking some of these suggestions, we're going to say, well, we just signed a new subscription, or we just brought on a new HR technology, and it doesn't allow us to do that. You're going to have to pressure the HR technology that's out there, the vendors, to make some changes, because again, if they're not getting the message, they're not going to take the initiative to be able to do that. And I think Debbie is frozen up again. So frozen 2. Debbie, you coming back?
You hear me?
I can hear you. There you are.
I hear you even when I'm
waving.
frozen. I
Okay.
know. I don't know how to prove to you I'm alive. So you can jump off whenever you wanted. I was just going to talk a
Okay.
little bit more about the Four Horsemen for more of my CX and UX audience. But thank you, Ira Wolf, Wolf with
Well,
an E on the end. Everybody find Ira on LinkedIn and give him a follow. And he goes live a lot and talks a lot about
yeah.
HR and candidate experience and things like that. So check him out. Thanks
Yeah,
for
actually,
joining us.
I'll do a plug. Two things. We're doing a plug Monday. Actually, next Monday and Tuesday. Follow-ups to this. I've got Jean Meissner. We're doing it's. She's got a new program. She does a lot of work. She's in the Future Workplace is her company, and we're going to be talking about AI in HR. So again, where that fits into user experience, whether it's going to make it better, worse, or indifferent, whether anybody's even talking about that. We're talking about AI as the solution, but if it doesn't improve the experience, it's not such a good solution. And then on Tuesday, we're actually talking with Kevin Grossman and Jerry Chrisman from the Talent Board. And they just released their 2019 Talent Board study. Or the research group why. And last year, candidate resentment, this is perfect. You'll love this. Candidate resentment went up 40%. Despite all these efforts to make things better and focused and everybody talking about candidate experience, candidate resentment went up 40%.
And
Uh,
resentment's not one of the Four Horsemen, but it kind of sounds like all the Four Horsemen collided.
the results. Yeah. So again, I'm gonna continue this conversation on my end, Monday and Tuesday live streams. If you follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook,
Please
you'll
do.
get the notices. And thanks, Debbie. Always a pleasure. I always learn from
Thanks
you.
to you. Thanks
So,
for brainstorming the
right.
four Ps with me, and
Yeah.
see you very soon. I'm going to stay on a little bit, assuming I don't keep
Okay.
freezing. And just thank all,
Well, I'll free up
everybody
your
for.
bandwidth.
Yeah, oh, it's you. Yes. Thank everybody for watching live. We still have some live watchers in LinkedIn and one on YouTube, thanks to our YouTube watcher. It's very often my boyfriend. And
I'll see you.
and you see you. Thanks, Ira. See you soon. And so, if there are any questions from the room, especially about the Four Horsemen, please do ask because I have found that it's a great tool. Again, I don't like to dumb down UX, but I find that it puts everybody on a level playing field because we can all recognize when, I would say maybe not all, but many of us can recognize when we or customers are feeling frustrated, confused, disappointed, and distracted. And even if you can tap into other people's sympathy, empathy is tough. We'll be talking about that one in about 10 days. Even if we can tap into people's sympathy and say, hey, listen to this quote we got from this customer, or watch this video of this customer struggling, we can tell that they are experiencing frustration and disappointment. And whatever they're feeling, we can tell that it's negative, and that is just a signal to us, the UX and CX team, that there's something that we need to dig deeper on and hopefully fix or improve. So it's a model that I like to use. Again, I find it really works with non UX people. When I've done my 1-day trainings, my Dev and UX training, formerly called DevOps ICU, I find that non UX people love it. It's like their favorite slide of the day. They go, "Oh wow, now I have a way to explain what I think I'm seeing, or use a name for it." So I encourage everybody to use it at their jobs. Try it out. See if the Four Horsemen work. You can always Google for them. My other site, my P-type site, has some images of the Four Horsemen. They are copyrighted, but please use them with credit to me, and I encourage people to share the model without stealing it. If you guys have any questions, I'll hang out a few more minutes since it's not quite the top of the hour yet. But if there aren't any questions, I'll wrap up for now. So while any last questions are coming in, I'm just going to give you guys a couple of coming soon teasers. As usual on Tuesday, um, some with her, who a talented person I worked with at Macy's. When I worked with her, she was doing visual design. Now she's been moving more into UX, and she is an amazing and fun person. I know you're going to love her. And of course, Monday the 20th, mark your calendars if you are awake. This one is going to be pretty early. This one's going to be 1 p.m. Italy time, which I think is 7 in the morning. This is going to be a great one for people who are kind of my time zone and east of me: India, Australia, Israel, South Africa. This one's for you. This one's going to be at 7 a.m. On Monday, the 20th, and it's going to be Empty with Dr. Seth Finkel, our favorite psychologist who was interviewed in my book. So, oh, looks like I might have blipped out at some point. Sorry, everybody. I'm back. So we've got some great podcasts coming up, and I'll get them scheduled on LinkedIn and follow it there. But as always, follow me on LinkedIn and on YouTube, the YouTube Delta CX channel, and you'll be notified when I go live. Remember, visit deltacx.com for more information about crazy fun stuff in my world, like the Delta CX book, the training, the consulting, of course, the upcoming Concentric Conference, which is a one-day, totally live online conference with, I believe, 16 sessions. And I have changed the pricing of it to make it free. Optionally, you can pay for it or you can make it free based on how you feel your finances are going. That's going to be January 24th, just 2 weeks from now. So, since we didn't receive any questions, thanks to everybody for watching and joining in today. Thanks to those listening later on YouTube and in our podcast stream. And I will catch everybody soon for some upcoming podcasts and live events. Now I have to find the end stream button.